Hi, Mitchell Levy here. I am so excited to be at one of my most favorite times of the day, and that is diving into a leader, figuring out and learning their values and sharing it with you. And I have Paul Bramson with me today. Paul, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mitchell. Excited to be here.
Uh, it is it is amazing. We had a great conversation. We're going to dive back into that about a month ago. But first, let me throw the ball over the court and say, hi, Paul. Who are you?
Are we on this for 4 hours, Mitchell? How long do I have for that? So I am, first and foremost, I am somebody that loves to speak in front of people. I am somebody that loves to travel. I am somebody that's very driven, ambitious. I am somebody that enjoys learning from others. And I am someone that I always want to be evolving as a human. And I think I live in Atlanta, Georgia, grew up in Boston, went to Boston University. And I love to travel for both work and for pleasure. That's
Hmm.
my 30-second in a nutshell.
Hmm. Boston. I spent 3 years. I loved Boston, other than winters.
Boston's a
Maybe the
great
first
city.
winter. Maybe the first winter you're like, right? Um, we what was fascinating when we were in the green room is you were quoting things that I had said a month ago.
Mhm.
And and I just thought in today's world we meet so many people in a month. I thought that was really powerful that you had thoughts and ideas from last time, and I think we
Yeah,
talked about values.
we
So
did.
tell me,
We
tell me
did.
what caught your attention. You first thing you said is, Mitchell, I did something with my friends that I never would have done without you. I'm like, all right, you got to talk about that.
So you had mentioned this when you and I first were introduced about a month ago. And then as I was preparing for this, one of the things the theme would be understanding core values, your core values. And I'm like, wow, I don't know that I've ever done an exercise. Because if you just asked me right now, what are my core values? I'd have to it would be longer than a pregnant pause. I can promise you. So it made me reflect. I had to talk to I have a personal board of advisors that I like to speak to. I'm like, what do you think my core values are? And I'll tell you what I think they are. And we came up with five that I'm really excited about because I believe
Really nice.
I live my I live. By the way, I'm not going to say these are better than everybody else's core values. I love these core values because I run my life by these. And I have to say, I've been talking about it all day today. I talked about it with my trainer. I asked him what his core values were. So you really got me thinking. That's something I just don't think about to articulate it, but I run my life by it. I've been running my life by it. I interact with people by it. So I'm excited about the five I came up with. Do you want to know? Do you want to know
Yes,
what they are? Are
please.
you sure? But
Uh,
I'm gonna.
I'm not sure. I'm sure. You tell me. I'll tell you afterwards. But yeah, of course, if they're yours, of
So
course, I'm sure.
authenticity.
Okay.
I want people to understand that I'm transparent. Excellence. I believe in high standards for myself. I also, when I work with people, I try to bring out the best in them. Self assuredness. I always want to my self image is important to me. I know that that's how I operate, and I work on that to hopefully keep my esteem high. Freedom. I have to have freedom, which is probably why I'm not married. But that's a side note. Nothing wrong with
I
that, by
was
the way.
not going to
Nothing wrong
go
with
there,
it.
but
There's nothing
maybe
wrong
we
with it. There's
will. But
nothing wrong with that. Nothing
yeah.
wrong with it. Nothing wrong at all. High respect for it. I need to be able to. That's actually why I think about freedom, and that's actually why I went on my own 22 years ago. Is I want to be able to make my own decisions. I don't want anything to feel like I is holding me back from making the decisions for my happiness. And the last one is health. To me, not only physical health, but also being around healthy people and myself being healthy. So those are my core values. So thank you for inspiring me to do that, Mitchell.
Oh, you are so welcome. So, authenticity, excellence, self assuredness, freedom, and health.
Memory.
I
Good
wrote it down.
memory.
I always try to think about immediately what's the acronym we could add that with.
I tried it already.
Um,
It doesn't work. I tried it. Doesn't work.
yeah, F and H don't really go together. And there's
Yeah, but S
yeah,
and H do.
SH, yeah, sheaf. That's not
Sheaf.
very exciting, is it?
No, it's not. It's not.
And if it was a T instead of an E, it'd be shaft. But hey, that doesn't work really well. Okay. So what's interesting to me is there's so many elements there of the 10 values of credibility. Authenticity is a direct smack. Having the intent and commitment to do the right thing fits within what you're doing. I don't actually, it's fascinating. I don't actually have anything that says excellence, but I think if you have integrity, both internal and external, you're delivering on that excellence.
Yep.
I definitely have shown respect, which is what you do. That's really interesting to me. All right, so how did you come up with those five? Is that did your advisory board tell you this? Did you know it? What?
So I initially, you see, when I see the word excellence, I'm always looking to be a high performer, and I love to work around high performers, and so I thought excellence was an easy one. But the other ones were people that, when I say board of advisors, is people I highly respect within my inner circle, and they know me. I will always want to be sure that I have an accurate self assessment, and they help me when I look in the mirror. They help me with that accurate self assessment. And we discussed a number of them, but we decided that from an authenticity, self assuredness, the freedom, and the health, it was just easy. Like, yeah, that's how I'm living my life. You could add more, but those were the top five.
Now, here's something that I find very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is now whether you're a type A personality, go-getter, make stuff happen, right? You definitely have the integrity to say what you do and do what you're saying. What's interesting though, it's really hard for us to see ourselves. And to surround yourself with people, hopefully they're transparent and honest and tell you
I
exactly
require it. Require
it,
that.
right?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing is
Absolutely.
each and every one of us can really learn from the lesson of having your own advisory board because you can't see yourself.
Why do you think that is, Mitchell? I have an opinion about that. I agree with you, by the way.
Oh,
Why
I
is
have
it
a
so hard for us to see ourselves accurately
actually I have a
or
super
more
strong
accurate?
opinion, and I appreciate you asking. But let me say, give me yours first, and I'll paint in whatever's missing, if anything.
So I'm very big on emotional intelligence. I feel like I think there's two things. One is there's the real possibility that people have high self-awareness, but they don't regulate appropriately. Ergo, people think they don't have self-awareness. So so people might have a different perception of them. So yes, so somebody says I have a bad temper. Yes, I know that, but I don't regulate it appropriately. Ergo, you're somebody that can't control the temper. And they think, well, they don't have, that person doesn't have really good self-awareness. So I feel like unless a lot of people don't have the accurate soundboards that you just talked about, in my opinion, I feel like I have very strong self-awareness, but I always check it with people that I respect. Hey, I think this about myself. Do you think that's accurate?
Most people don't even
Do that.
yeah, they don't do that. Like that's so powerful. I, what What's interesting is you maybe naturally go out and ask other people what they think. Most people actually lie to themselves, right? So I'll step back. So
Interesting.
imagine
That's interesting.
imagine what happens when you look in the mirror. You make an image of yourself.
Mhm.
And then probably for the next 6 months, sometimes next 5 years, when you look in the mirror, you're seeing the image you made at a certain point in time. You're not actually seeing that, like, and every now and then you go, you really look at yourself. Is that really what I look like? Right. And well, that's what happens in terms of how we interact. And so the best example I could give is I did a survey on LinkedIn and I said, okay, how many people first of all, for yourself, what level of accountability are you? and 63% of the respondents said they were accountable. And I knew I asked the wrong question. So then I said, in your network of the people you really trust, how many of them are 100% accountable all the time? And the number was only 10%. And so that is a measure of okay, when we're talking about ourselves, we're accountable, but everyone else around me is not, right? And it's the lying to ourselves.
Is it the lying, or are they just unaware? Semantics?
Ooh,
Semantics?
yeah. It's a good question. I think lying is probably a bad word. And I said that word when I wrote my post on it. I
Sure.
said it to try to draw emotion, but it's
Sure.
not really. It's we will change as humans, we'll change reality a little bit to fit the situation we're in.
Yeah.
And that's why having I sat on the board of a public firm for a while. That's, the board's role is to be the guardians, the safekeepers of the investors, not of the firm, not of other things. That's a different story, right? And their view is to really be accountable, to be supporting the investors to make sure all the right things happen, right? So you having a board for you personally is to support that you're coming across the way you either perceive it, and if you don't perceive, if what you're hearing is not right, to fix it. I assume that's what happens.
Right. The other thing, the other challenge, Mitchell, I believe, is people have different definitions of what's appropriate.
Ooh.
From my experience, there are different degrees, different definitions, which, by the way, can also skew how people look at somebody, which can skew somebody's self-awareness. It's a fascinating subject matter, by the way.
It is.
Most people aren't having coffee talking about emotional intelligence.
No.
They're just not.
So tell me a situation where you went to your advisory board asking that question and you expected a result, but they gave you something different.
You mean that's what my best friend does? She does that all.
They don't.
Yep. You're talking about not telling me what I want to hear?
You mean yesterday? Okay, yeah, no.
I can be. Oh, I have a lot of these. So, ask me the question one more time, so I give you the I want to pick the right story. Okay.
No. By the way, what a great, like, the most amazing stall technique, and it's not in a negative way. It's just, hey, I need a little bit more time. I want to think about it a little bit more.
Mitchell, I'm a pro at this.
I know you're good. You're good. So when a situation where you've gone to your advisory board, and they've said something that's different than your self-perception, and then the follow-up question is, did you fix it?
I was speaking to a large group of about 300 people, and she was watching me present, and I can be very biting, sarcastic humor at times, and she thought that I was being a little harsh on someone, and I completely disagreed with her, like adamantly, vociferously disagreed with her. And then I reflected about it, and Carly's going to watch this, so she's going to like this. She was right. She was right when I was able to reflect on it, because when I thought about putting myself on that person's situation in front of 300 people, it was a good learning. She was right. And I don't love to be corrected, Mitchell, on being candid about that. And she was accurate. She was.
Nice. Is there what would you have done differently next time? What do you learn from that?
Finesse. You always have to use finesse. That has to be the common, and it's not about what feels good to me. It's about what's going to feel good for the masses and what's the right thing to do. And listen, my humor, my demeanor, where I'm from. Bostonians, we can be very candid, direct. We can have that sarcasm. But if it's really being aware of just you need to use finesse, because the downside is greater than the upside. It just is.
What does finesse mean to you?
Smoothness, soft landing, easy for people to digest, no rough edges.
Yeah, but sometimes if you want people to cross the line, if your goal is to get them from A to B, don't
Yeah.
you need to smack people around occasionally for them to cross
Yes.
over?
Young Paul would have done that, not older Paul. No chance.
Ah, okay.
No chance. By the way, I'm still young, but I'm older.
I
I gotta throw that in there.
You meant that metaphorically.
Yeah,
I got you.
exactly.
What's next? What's next for you? What do you think is the if we have this conversation again 6 to 12 months from now, what's going to be different?
For Paul the human, Paul the professional, Paul overall? What do you mean, Mitchell?
I appreciate you asking. Do all three.
I want to stay on the trajectory that I'm on right now, which means I love what I do. And by the way, I am unapologetic about saying I define myself by what I do. I'm 100% unapologetic about it. I love it. It fulfills me. I love walking around like that. I want to continue to do more keynotes, continue to inspire and motivate. I love doing that. I love the travel aspect. What would be different is keeping an open mind. Over the last 2 years, I've become more open to learning and being better and being open to elevate. I can't say that I always was like that. I want to be able to have that conversation with you to be like, I'm still growing. I'm still evolving. I'm still having fun, Mitchell.
Got it. So that's you professionally, personally,
All of it.
and overall. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that could cover all the things. Nice. By the way, nice summarization of all that. And one of the core values of being credible is being coachable. So
I remember you. That's
what if you're not coachable, if you're not ready to learn from whoever it is, it's hard for people to see you as
How do you
someone
know
who
somebody is coachable, Mitchell? How do you know?
it's fascinating. I'll tell you the trick I use often. If I'm not sure, I'll make a comment about something that I know needs to be fixed. Good example. Just got off the line with somebody, and in their LinkedIn profile, they have received 2 recommendations and given 0. And I'm like, I think there are people who will see you via LinkedIn, and this is something that I typically like to see 15 each. And it's listening to how the response comes back, Paul. Right?
Mhm.
It doesn't no, they don't have to say, hey, I got to fix this. It's at least acknowledging that, yeah, this is an area that may need some of my time at some point in time versus no, I don't need it. I won't need it. It doesn't make sense to me. Right.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's a trick for me. And tricks are not bad things. I need to see people quickly. And
Yeah.
coachability is, and I think you and I did that in the conversation, because when you're self-assured like you are, sometimes people might call that cocky. It's not, but it could
I've
come across.
nobody's ever called me arrogant before, but yes. They actually use the A word. Go ahead.
Got it. And the thing is, if it comes with a dose of humility and it comes with the ability to learn, then that's a good thing versus a bad thing. And that's what I have to test.
Yep.
It's not that what somebody is doing is right or wrong. It's how they perceive a piece of data that's coming in. Does that make
And
sense?
it does. And the thing that I've learned about the coachability, and me included, it's how somebody talks to me. and it's how I'm
Mm.
talking to others. So I think sometimes the misstep people make, Mitchell, is somebody may have the ability to be coached. They don't like how somebody's talking to them. And I think that to me becomes the gap. I am only open to being coached if somebody talks to me a certain way. And when I learned is with executives and leaders that I'm working with, if you always ask them the same question that for me, this is for me. I always, are you open to candid feedback to get their guard to come down? They're more likely that it's almost like they have to give you permission to coach them. This is what I run into.
Oh, always. By the way, I learned that when I was doing the 500 interviews.
That's right.
I learned it up front that if I didn't at some point say, "Hey, do you mind a little bit of coaching?"
There you
Um,
go.
and by the way, I did have one person say, "Yes, I do." Like one person literally said, "We
Until
didn't
they
do the
warm up, I bet they warmed up to you. You have a really good
we
style.
did not do the interview." This
Oh,
was
yeah.
a
Not coachable.
$30,000
Not coachable.
speaker.
Yeah.
This is somebody who is so. By the way, that I only had 9 values of credibility until that person.
Wow.
And when I said, "Hey, would you mind a little bit of coaching?" and he said, "No, we didn't do the interview." And I go, "Yeah, that's got to be part of the credibility stick, right?" I think
Mhm.
it's interesting to me. Part of it, because you're an emotional intelligence person. Part of it is when somebody's commenting to you and giving you feedback. Part of what we as humans need to perceive is that they're doing it for us. They're not doing it for themselves.
Yep, I can see that. I can see that. The other thing, and you've obviously spent a lot of times with leaders, they have to think you're credible. Don't you
They
think?
have to know to accept. Agreed. Yeah, but that's
I mean, that's
but
like a
Paul,
foundation.
well, yes, but that definition changes so much, right? If somebody is 14 years old and they have a million followers on a
Yep.
social media platform,
Mhm.
they have a certain level of credibility that potentially other people won't have or will never have. So what do they have credibility to do? Right. So that's where it gets interesting.
And I guess it also depends on what you're coaching them on, what you want to coach them on, the subject matter for sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. People are fascinating. I don't have to tell you that. People are fascinating. The complex, dynamic. It's very interesting.
So what's your favorite type of client?
Oof, it's a good one. It's changed over the years. I
Hopefully, by the way, hopefully, as it should.
fair, fair. So my favorite type of client are the ones that are all in. They're all in.
Hmm.
Meaning there is, and I love working with all clients. I want to throw that out there. But the ones that are more skeptical when you walk in, there's a bit jaded, they're experienced already. Still love talking to them, by the way. But the ones that are just they're all in, they take they take what you're talking to them and educating them on, and they apply and embrace, and they want more. That's the people I love to
Hmm.
be around. That's my favorite. I hope this answers your question. That is my favorite client.
Oh, it's great. All right. So listen, if somebody's listening or watching and
Yeah.
they're interested in talking with you and learning more, what is the best way? And hold on, by the way, I've got one great question after this.
Yeah.
But what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
So two ways. PaulBramson.com, PaulBramson.com, or on LinkedIn for sure. Both on my personal and my business LinkedIn. Those are the two easiest ways to reach me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
Now, how uh, this conversation went a certain way. Didn't know where it would go. I just knew it'd be fun. Based on the level of conversation, is there a particular question you wish I asked, or is there a particular question that you'd like to ask yourself now?
Woof. We could go either way on that one. So I would say that one of the questions that wouldn't mind answering is, when you take a look at core values, when you're interacting with people today, what core values resonate with me? Is it,
Ooh, that's a great question. Not everyone could answer that question. That's a great question.
I don't
Okay.
even know if I can answer, but I like the question.
All
I
right,
like the
Paul, when you interact with other people,
yeah.
is there a particular set, one, two, or more core
Yep.
values that when you
Yep.
feel those values or see those values being practiced, you're like, yeah, this is who I want to be around?
So integrity, optimistic, I self-respect, the is happiness a core value?
You
Because
know,
that to me is a big one. Maybe it's under optimism, but you tell me.
so by the way, I don't know. I'm going to make something up because I'm not sure off the top of my head. I might actually replace the word happiness with joy, because I
Joy.
think joy
Love it.
is what's on
Love
the
it.
inside and
Love it.
happiness is on the outside.
If when I'm around, I'm actually thinking about a specific client as I'm saying this. Optimistic, joy, self-respect. They just it's just so nice to be around. By the way, they can also have the confidence and the self-assuredness and the authenticity. I love all authenticity too is a big one. I like it when people are transparent to me. So I think if that is there's one question, I would add that for me.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's you kind of want to hang around people where it's not work. You would ask me, interviewing, 25 people in 2 days. Is that a were you tired? I'm like, no. I mean, for me, because
Yeah, right. Yeah, you
I
like that
like that
one-on-one.
engagement.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now if they were all difficult, if they all uh, uh, didn't want to be coached, that might have been something different, right? That might have been a different issue.
I have a question I need to ask you because I ran into this last week. I want to ask you this, Mitchell, if you're okay with
Okay.
this. So I'm getting ready to board the plane, and there's a woman talking behind me to her husband, and she says something that happiness is a choice. So I'm curious about your opinion about this. I'm going to say what I said to her after you give me your opinion, if you don't mind.
So
Happiness is a choice. What is your thought about this, Mitchell?
it's a great question. First, I thought you were going to say, well, should I have turned around and said
No,
something
no,
or
no. I
not?
already talked. Oh, no, no. I turned around. Trust me. I'm not
Uh,
shy. Go ahead.
so so I think the ability to instill joy
Mhm.
inside yourself is absolutely a choice. Um, the ability for you to say, hey, no matter what my situation is, I'm going to get the most out of it, which is basically represented by the characteristics of the values that you want to hang around.
Yep, I agree.
Now, whether or not you display happiness or not may depend on the situation.
Mhm, mhm.
Sickness, illness, death,
For
those
sure.
sort of things, you can't be
Situational.
happy,
That's right.
right? But you could still have joy on the inside. Like if somebody's parent died, but they were sick for a long time, right? I'm joyful that maybe my friend or family member's pain is over. I'm not happy about it, right? So it's a very interesting concept. I would like more of us to just have joy on the inside, and then they could decide how to display it. So in that particular case, whether or not you're happy or not for particular situations is very situational. I don't know if I
Correct.
answered your question,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, you did. You did.
okay.
And I actually asked other people this, and there was your answer was not dissimilar. And I agree with what you just said, Mitchell. I added something to this. I
Awesome.
said,
What you
it's very interesting. I said to the woman, is happiness a choice? Could be. I would argue the choices we make will determine how happy we are, which goes back to my freedom core value, by the way. Um, I think there's two sides to it. I do. I think if we as humans make better choices, we'll be happier. I think you could add that to that.
Well, I so love that because what I wanted to say at the end, but I would have done it after I said thank you to you.
Of
So
course.
I will still give you a thank you at the end. But one of the things that I do, one of the things I'm most excited about is helping somebody articulate their purpose, their joy in 10 words or less. We have something called a clarity booster. Next one's, we do it every month. So I'll put the link in chat. I won't actually give a date because I want this to live on forever. But every
Sure.
month we do one of these things. And what's interesting is if you actually can articulate your purpose in 10 words or less, you and I did this for you last time. It's called a
Yeah.
CPOP. The
Yeah.
choices you're making are from the playground you play in. So it allows you to be happier because you're making choices that are within the compass of what you already know you to be. That's a great, I think that's an addition, Paul, that I will remember going forward. The happiness and joy question. And is it a choice? Well, if you can get your CPOP, then happiness will be a choice.
There you go. There you
Thank
go.
you.
Thank you,
Dude,
Mitchell.
appreciate you adding value. That was awesome. Really fun spending time with you. Thanks so much for sharing. Um,
My pleasure.
oh, you're awesome. And for everyone else, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being with us. It's now time to spread some cred dust. Click on the like button, share with your friends, take the aha message that you grabbed, like maybe it's the icebreaker, like is happiness a choice? Take that aha message, share it on social, and we'll see you at the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks.